So today we're talking about the scare factor inside of Call of Duty Zombies. Let me know in the comment section, when was the last time you were actually spooked by a zombies map in Call of Duty? Game Informer have just released a brand new interview with the creative director and the associate director of Nazi Zombies for World War II, and in it they claim that this is going to be the scariest zombies mode we've ever had. Now I'll play you guys that interview footage in a little bit, but I want to first touch on what makes zombies scary in my opinion. We've done this every time a zombies developer comes out saying that they're going to be making a scary or horror style zombies map, and then we go and talk about the factors that make zombies scary. So let's jump over to the creative director and senior director of development to talk about how the team is hoping to use Sledgehammer Games' unique perspective of horror to create a more intense and scary experience for players. They're not going for just simple jump scares, that's too predictable. They're going in much deeper.
Focus on why has this mode been so popular? Why has it been growing? And while we wanted to, put our own stamp on it and give it our own flavor, we wanted to make sure that we maintained those powerful elements that have helped the franchise carry on. It's a wave-based game, but there's story and mysteries and Easter eggs to unlock. And so we wanted to have all of those core elements in there, and then see if on top of that we couldn't add our unique spin on horror, our unique spin on the narrative. We didn't want to uproot the thing and spin it around in an entirely new direction. We just wanted to add kind of the Sledgehammer flavor.
We've got this great pedigree of horror in the studio. It's in the bones of the co-founders and in the team, and we use that as an inspiration to make probably the scariest zombies game ever done. It's really the darkest corner of Call of Duty. And we just added a little bit of guidance for new players and preserved all the other stuff.
We've got an accessible hint system. You don't have to go to YouTube to get through the core elements of the game. However, some of the Easter eggs, some of them are so incredibly enigmatic and mysterious to find that we've got testers that still haven't uncovered some of the stuff we've got hidden in there. We've got some bets on how long it's going to take the rest of the community to figure these out.
Yeah, on some levels, it's the easiest and most accessible zombies game ever, and at the same time it's also the most scary hardcore version ever. So we went to two poles, I think. We knew we were on to something when we scared ourselves.
Our zombies are just terrifying.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
Just still pictures of them will scare you, and so them moving and attacking and bleeding on you is even worse. We tried to create this fear goulash, I would say, with all these different pieces, so that it kind of comes at you from a lot of different directions. And yeah, even in our playtests around the studio, you'll hear people screaming, falling out of their chairs.
Even the characters in the game get scared. We have a chance to put emotion in their own voices as they get close to death and scared. You can hear it in the VO and some of the performance of the actors. So in the game, it scares itself. You're onto something.
So that was one of the challenges, was how do you do this when you've got 4 people that are going to be talking? And then we realized, that's not too different from when you go through a haunted house with your buddies, right? And there are certain elements, there are certain ways to build up that fear. And while we can't control where everybody is, and in some games everybody's going to be going off in their own directions, we've created certain aspects of the game that require the group to be there together, or that are enhanced by the group being there together. And they're kind of our target-rich environments for scare moments. We've got some great handcrafted scary bits that will be different every time you play through it, just because they're depending on who's there and what you've just done to get there.
I mean, even with a group of people, you're still building tension, you're still building ways to scare the player. At some point, you are the last man standing, trying to get your friends rescued and show up. And so all that tension we've been building up, we trigger as we go, and it can still catch you.
Some of the best, scariest moments have happened almost accidentally. There are these times that we're like, well, we put all the pieces in there, but we could have never predicted that two players would go this way and 2 would go that way, and triggered this thing that happened. And that's when we feel like we've made the best recipe
cool.
here. It is like scary things are happening that we didn't even predict.
When it pops, it works pretty well.
For example, we've got our speediest kind of assault creatures, and we decided one thing that'll be cool is they've got flies buzzing around them, and you can see them crawling out of their eyes as these things are coming towards you. And we realized, in the rounds where we're going to send these guys at you, let's just do a subtle buzzing of flies. Is going to be the audio cue. And that is something that initially you're like, okay, yeah, flies, okay, there's lots of dead things around here, makes sense. But it's built up to become this thing where you get this adrenaline rush when you hear that buzz sound. because you begin to trigger, okay, I know exactly what that means. I know what's coming, guys.
You should go find your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been stopped on the hallway here by people who don't normally, talk to me about something like this. They go, "Oh,"
or talk to you in general.
In general. And who can blame them? I said, you just scared the hell out of me. And I'm like, "Oh, awesome." Don't normally have those conversations with coworkers, but that's what we do nowadays. So.
I can happily say after watching that interview, that gives me a lot of excitement for the horror theme of this game. I know that they're not going to go down the route of purposely adding in bits to purposely scare you, such as jump scares in the same places every time. They want to make the playthroughs different every single time. And just like they mentioned in the interview, they touch on the sound design as well. So it sounds like the new version of the dog rounds in this game is going to be the zombies that have flies swarming around and coming out of their eyes, which sounds horrible even just from the description, but hearing the sound as well is what's going to really send shivers down our spines and really get the adrenaline going. Now, sound design in Zombies is something which has always been at the heart of what, in my opinion, makes a map scary. We're going to be touching on a few maps from Call of Duty Zombies which I think have achieved this, that being Verrückt, Mob of the Dead, and to a certain degree, at least from a sound design, Zetsubo no Shima. Now, touching first on Zetsubo's, it's the most recent map, Jason Blundell said that it's probably the scariest Zombies map we've ever done, which is far from the truth. I'm sorry, Jason, I do love you, but this map was not scary. But what I think did intend to unnerve the player was the sound. There's tons of sound effects, from the hallucination Easter eggs where you can hear screaming, as well as being able to activate tree branches to hear children crying. There is a ton of creepy sound effects throughout this entire map, which I absolutely love. Mob of the Dead is another one which I think hit the nail on the head for loads of different reasons. You have the aggressive voice of Brutus, which is scary to most people that are not familiar with it, as well as the dynamic music which played as you went into different areas. I think this worked so well, and I'm so glad that they've decided to go through with this into the future Black Ops 3 Zombies maps, and I hope that World War II Zombies follows that same route, as the music really adds to the tone and it sets the atmosphere for that specific part of the map. Now, listening to Sledgehammer, they've mentioned also that the characters we're going to be playing as are also going to be scared, and I think that is a great way to interact and sort of break the third wall in a way, as it's supposed to be how we're supposed to be feeling whilst playing. These characters are representing us and we're controlling what they're doing, so it's great that they are scared as well. There's never been a Zombies map where the characters have specifically quoted that they are scared on what's going on and what's going to happen. Especially in Mob of the Dead, you have 4 gangsters who, are very, very strong and aggressive anyway. There's nothing that's really going to scare them, but it's more them questioning their environment rather than them being scared about it. Now, we also had a few jump scares inside of Call of Duty Zombies. We've had one in Mob of the Dead, Origins, and Shadows of Evil, but the scariest one definitely was Zetsubo no Shima. That hit the nail on the head, and that is really what a jump scare should be. But again, once you've done it the first time, it's not really that scary anymore. And Sledgehammer mentioned in this interview a tiny bit and in others that they plan to have them sort of jump scares, but they're not going to be very often, and they're not going to be very predictable either. The jump scares that we know full well at the moment are specifically ones that you trigger in a very certain way, and it's the only way to trigger them, whilst with this, I feel there are going to be multiple different ways to activate a specific jump scare, but they're not using the element of jump scare to be the main thing that will make you scared. It's more of just the unnerving feeling of playing the map and the sound. Now, Verrückt is why I mentioned earlier, a map which I think achieved this so early on without even intending it, because I feel back in the day, original Zombies was actually the scariest zombies we've had, because they sounded really, really menacing, and Verrückt just has so many different sound effects. You have the dentist chair, you have screaming and wailing, which can happen at complete random points depending on where you're standing. You've also got weird voices that are talking as well. It's honestly probably the best Treyarch have gotten in terms of getting that scare factor, because it was just the atmosphere itself that made you feel uneasy, and not only that, but the map is really difficult, so you always feel like you're always on edge when playing, and that's something which I think is great. Now, whilst other maps have tried to be a tiny bit scary, I feel they really are involving the whole factor of horror into the map and the gameplay itself. Glenn Schofield mentions that the core gameplay is at heart, which is what makes this really fun, so they didn't change the core gameplay, but they made some additions to it, and what sets this apart and makes it unique is the horror story, the background, and all the reasons you're fighting these zombies in the first place. But make no mistake that making something scarier, the pace changes. There are some places where the game's going to slow down, or you're going to stop and you're going to worry. And are you going to get scared? That changes from playing with 1 all the way up to 4 players, and at its heart they've tried to make it as scary as possible. So scary doesn't always mean like it can mean real tension, which is, again, if you're a horror fan, that's what you're looking for those different type of adrenaline rushes. Now, they also were asked, is it going to have its own spooky score that we can listen to? And they said they're going down the same recording studio they used for the main score in the campaign, and they'll be doing a few days worth of zombie stuff, such as the sound effects, just to have them go off. Going down there and just watching those musicians do it for the first few days, the passion that you saw and how good they are is what makes a difference, and can't wait for those sounds to get into the game. So it sounds like well and truly the sound design is going to be superb, as that's pretty much half of what makes you scared. If you go and see a horror film, it's the sound and the spooky loudness of a jump that will make you jump more so than seeing something scary on the screen. Now, also the story and the atmosphere with these zombies is also what is going to make this the scariest zombies ever. There is a ton of experimentation going on where the doctor might say, why do you need a hand on a zombie when a claw could be better? Or why not just get rid of an arm instead and replace it with a saw blade? There's going to be tons of zombies which are going to be experimented on, and like they mentioned, even the sound of one where there's flies coming out of their eyes sounds absolutely horrible. And the zombies really do have a change of pace, where they mentioned some which speed up, and we've heard that they can literally charge around the rooms, knocking stuff over and completely terrorizing the place, and that's how they're going to change the pacing in zombies. And honestly, I can't wait for this. I can't wait to be scared out of my skin playing Call of Duty Zombies. Let me know down below in the comment section, are you looking forward to the scariest zombies that we've ever had? I can't wait. I'd love to know your thoughts down below, and I really hope that this is actually scary and that the developers are not talking out of their asses. But they created Dead Space, so it's a guarantee that this is going to be really damn scary. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to slap a like rating on it. There'll be more World War II Zombies coverage throughout the next weeks, because Game Informer will keep releasing exclusive information, and we're close to the beta as well. And when that is released next Friday, I'll be sure to bring you guys all of the live streamed gameplay from the beta, as that will be amazing. But thank you for watching, sticking to the end. You guys are amazing. Check out these videos on the screen if you haven't seen them yet, and I'll catch you next time.